Today I'm going to show you how you make this little easy peasy watercolor rose sample. And all you need to do this technique is an open line stamp set, a stamp image, aqua pen or a paintbrush, and some re-inker, color of your choice, craft white ink pad and white embossing powder. So firstly, you will ink up your stamp and with craft ink. Make sure it's well covered. Stamp on your paper. And then, as usual, you'll coat this with embossing powder, and I just didn't have my embossing pal here, so I'm going to tip this onto a sheet of paper. All of that looks like you used a lot, but you don't. If you've embossed before, this is not news to you. Tap off the excess, heat it with your heat gun, and that creates little ridges on your paper that you can fill in. Now, just so you don't have to listen to my heat gun or watch me heat it up, I'm going to take you to a sample that's already done. This is, you can barely see it probably, but glossy lines on this shimmery cardstock will keep the water in place. You spray your water from just in a dollar store water bottle, spray the whole image, get it soaking wet so that there's water in each little, there, you might be able to see that, in between all the lines. It's very wet. Then you're going to use your re-inker, and this is rich raspberry, and you can just tip your aqua pen right on this and drop it into the sections of the flower that are already wet. It will have a mind of its own and create a design and color pattern all of its own. This is so simple. All you do then is let it dry. So fill in as you wish each little section that has water in it. Some will be dark, some will be lighter. If you don't like it, the color that it turns out, you can play with it. It's not finished. Or you can just leave it the way it is and let nature take its course, so to speak. And if it runs over the edge, as some of mine is doing, you don't need to worry because you cut this flower out. You cut around the lines later. So if you want to get rid of some color, you would simply blot it up a little bit. Could you pass me that towel? I forgot to get my paper towel handy, but you can wipe this on a paper towel and you can simply soak up some of the water with your aqua pen. It soaks up, or if you're really stuck and you've got way too much, you think, just do this and it will disappear. If you want your color to be darker, you simply repeat the process. Take a little bit of your re-inker. It's much easier if you put this re-inker in something. For some reason I didn't this time. You can even use your lid to put your re-inker in, the lid of your stamp pad. This takes quite a bit of time to dry. It takes about 20 minutes. If you want to speed things up, you can put it aside and in about 10 minutes heat it with your heat gun and it will simply evaporate. Now my Stampers Club did this about 2 weeks ago, and they had a question and I thought it was a very valid one. I'm using shimmery white cardstock here. It seems to repel the water and works really, really nicely. They were wondering if it would work on any other kind of paper product that we sell. So I did a little trial. And I will tell you that the very best, in my opinion, the best paper is the shimmery white. This is what happens when you wet our regular cardstock. It just soaks in so much. You don't get puddles of water. It the water soaks right into the paper. So you can't really use our Whisper White cardstock, but you can use a glossy cardstock. This paper is very glossy and it does repel the water, but your results are slightly different. With this, your color tends to be more one flat color. And I'm just going to put a bit of this in tin foil, the re-inker, so I don't have to keep fiddling with it. And you can see that this works, so it works quickly as well. When it dries a little bit flatter. And certainly you don't have the shimmer effect. But I will show you the dry ones in just a moment. So again, very quickly adding it in, or play with it, or spend a bit of time darkening it. So if you're a little bit afraid of watercolor, this technique is for you. It seems to work no matter what you do with it. It's very effective for flowers, for sure. And there's the glossy white cardstock. When that dries, it dries more like this, not so true to the color. The shimmery white cardstock is one sample that I did with shimmery white, and I used two colors in this one, so it's not just the rich raspberry. This one's just rich raspberry, but the more you do it, the more you can play around with what colors you add to it. The last sample that I tried was our watercolor paper, and watercolor paper of course absorbs a lot of water, but it is still you are still very able to do this technique. Although you don't get a shimmery effect, you get a lovely effect. The finished product would look like something like this, but as you watch me paint, you'll see that a lot more of this soaks in. And if you have a dry patch, again, I've gone outside the line there, not to worry, you cut it off after. You cannot make mistakes with this technique. I just love it. It's so forgiving. Now this is very effective on the watercolor paper. Again, you don't have the sparkles that you get in a shimmery white cardstock. But can you try it with this? You most certainly can, and it is effective. If you don't seem to have a lot of color variation and you want more color variation, you simply tilt your paper, no matter what kind of paper you're using, and the color will move towards that edge. You can even let it dry like this and get something that looks more shaded or more like the light is hitting it in certain areas. So an effective, simple technique for watercolor people. Want to try something fast and fabulous. Thank you for watching. Again, if I didn't show you, this is the final product, the outcome with the watercolor paper. So basically, you can do this technique with glossy cardstock or glossy, shimmery, shiny cardstock. You can do it with the watercolor paper that you just saw me using, and you can do it, as was initially suggested, with our shimmery white. And the shimmery white, I think the outcome is absolutely fabulous. But you're able to do it in any of these three papers. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a good stamping day. Bye for now.